Hi, beach friends! Today we're headed to an island off the west coast of Florida called Cayo Costa, so we'll be taking a boat to get to our destination. I'm going to tell you all about the tour company I chose, which tour I took and why, and of course I'll be sharing all the goodies I find along the way. The weather really wanted to make my day miserable, but we'll just have to see if taking my chances paid off. So without further ado, let's go to the beach. So a couple of days prior, I had booked a ticket on for a 9 o'clock trip to Cayo Costa, got up and checked the weather, and it really wasn't looking so good. And I figured, all right, let me zoom out. Let's see, is it going to be like that for a while? Yeah, not looking good. All right, so the last thing I needed to check was lightning. Is there lightning in the area? No lightning. So, okay, let's go. Put your raincoat on and go. What's the worst that can happen? You're going to get wet. Lightning, not so good, but rain, what are you going to do? So I'm over in Captiva and I decided to go on, this isn't going to be a short cruise, and I went with Captiva Cruises. It was only 3 hours, and if you say about a half hour there, half hour back, so this is only going to be a 2-hour shelling excursion. I'm going to kind of take one for the team and see what we can find in 2 hours. An adult ticket was $45. There was a $5 parking fee, and I'll talk about that. And then it was an extra $2 to actually get into the Cayo Costa State Park. So here we are, taking our really soggy trip over to the island, but I had my raincoat on, my waterproof camera, and said, hey, just let me at it. So not too far of a walk. On the southern end, you can go to the northern end. We're going to talk about that. But here on the southern end, it's really kind of a short walk over a boardwalk until you get to the beach proper. Just keep in mind there are 0 facilities on this part of the island. So if you needed anything, you're going to need to go back to the boat because there's no shelter. And that's something else that was concerning me when I was thinking about the lightning. So there'll be no shelter. It'll be just me in the rain, and actually it stopped raining. So here I am just getting to Cayo Costa. It really is quite beautiful, and I love being on islands. You can only get there by boat. Now, the people who were directing the boat, the crew, said go to the right because that's where all the sand dollars are. So I, of course, went to the left because I wanted to go away from people. The tide was going out, so I figured the southern end of the island was really the place I wanted to explore anyway. So I was happy to be here. I'm going to have to make it quick. I've only got 2 hours. So let's just see what kind of goodies we can find in a short period of time. So we'll start off, okay, a Florida fighting cock, a bunch of barnacles, and a sand dollar. So even though most of the people were hunting for sand dollars a little bit away from me, I am still going to find some sand dollars. Now that one's pretty beat up, so I'm going to go ahead and save that for the next group of people who might come here and want that sand dollar. All right, calico scallop, also complete with a barnacle, a little bit of beach stuff. There wasn't much on the beach proper. I mean, we're talking teeny little pieces. So I love the water. That's where I like exploring. So for now, we're going to stick to the water, see what we can find. Ace, that was a broken something or other. That is a Sunray Venus clam. Lovely. Looks like I found a broken bay scallop. Bummer. I mean, yay, scallop, bummer on the broken part. And a little lightning whelk. Okay, not surprising. I see a another sand dollar. Again, this guy's been hanging around for a little while. He's got all sorts of stuff on it. The longer, at least in my experience, the longer they've been out there, they do get a little brittle. So I kind of try to hold on to the newer ones. Here we have a Florida fighting cock. It's got some cool colorings, although quite beat up. probably not going to hold on to that. So let's just take a peek. What's going on here on the beach? Tiny little fragments, little pieces. At least here, we are going to walk some. The beach does change. The water was nice and clear, and it actually was really, really calm. Now that sand dollar gave me an idea. When I saw that open piece in the back and I can see all those little pieces, we're going to break open that sand dollar and take a look at the inside at the end of the video. So make sure you stick around if you want to see what's inside a sand dollar. And here is a juvenile Florida fighting conch, a little bit chewed up with some stuff in there. Still kind of pretty. I guess not pretty enough. There we go. A bit, oh dear. All right, that is a bay scallop. Really pretty. Love those scallops. Check this out. I thought that was tar. I didn't know what that was, but not on an island. It's just an old Florida fighting conch with all sorts of friends. They figured they'd come and join the party. So that is the party Florida fighting conch. Oh, that's just a piece of a lightning whelk. And since I got real lucky just exploring some pieces, so I will be flipping over just about everything. That's a bay scallop. Intact. All right, cool. Definitely going to hold on to that. I see a juvenile. Yup. Oh, pretty. Okay. That's a keeper. A juvenile Florida fighting conch. And in lettered olive. Lettered olive. It is named that way because it looks like it has letters on the actual shell. And it's yeah, just another piece. But you never know. Be curious, people. Be curious. Okay, another piece. Hey, you never know. Look at this little fun guy. That's a small spine sea star. He's alive and well. Looks like he's working on some shells and whatnot, but that is a lovely small spine sea star. Let's just put him or her back where we found him. And that is a reddish egret. And you probably don't know if you could see the color so well, but he was kind of hanging around for a little while. I'm sure he was hunting. The conditions for fishing looked like really good, at least for if you were a bird. The water was nice and shallow and very, very clear. So that's where I'm kind of headed, the south end of Cape Costa, very slowly just kind of creeping through the water, see what I can find. It wasn't raining, so that was good. It was a little chilly with the wind blowing in. And by chilly, I mean like it was in the 70s. Okay. Piece of a lightning whelk. All right. Now, this was interesting and just enormous. This, I believe, is a vertebrae from a manatee. And the reason I think it's from a manatee is because I did see a dead manatee up on the beach. So I assume this is a piece of one of that manatee's vertebrae. Huge, huge. They're just enormous. Now, I could be wrong. That could be dolphin. It could be something else. But just because I had seen the rest of the critter, that's what I thought it might be. And here we have a crab desperately trying to get away from me. Did not want to say hi. Was absolutely not friendly. Wanted no part of me. Figured I'll just say hi. Can't quite tell what kind of crab that was. See another sand dollar. All right. Is it yeah, it's broken. That's typically the condition. I love to find them, but it's missing some pieces. But you know what? I might need that. We might need that to break open. So I'm going to hold on to that anyway. And here we have, that is another juvenile Florida fighting conch of the lovely orange variety. Oh, and a calico clam with some black stuff on it. Still kind of pretty shells, though. There we go. That's one that doesn't have all some black stuff on it. A cool calico clam. So I'm still at it. Just happy it's not raining. Weather's decent. It's fine. I'm only going to be here for 2 hours, so I only need a window. Just a window. Kind of do my business here. Okay, another lettered olive with the perfunctory shells jammed in that opening. Looks like a, right? One bend down. How many olives? And now I'm checking to see are any of them like nice and glossy, but we got ourselves 3 lettered olives. This one was very lettered, kind of pretty. They're neat, have all different patterns. Oh, and another sea star. All right, tide's still going out. I'm still walking around checking out, see what I can find. Now it's funny, I'm thinking I'm finding a whole bunch of sand dollars. I bet those other people that went the other way to actually look for the sand dollars, they probably are going to have bucket loads. But we are, even though that's not necessarily what I was looking for, we're doing pretty good in the sand dollar department. Another lettered olive. Lovely. So I did spend a fair amount of time inspecting pieces of shells because you never know. The rest of it could be there, especially out when the water and the sand is a little bit softer. But I only have 2 hours here. So again, I'm feeling a little rushed. I usually spend a little bit more than 2 hours out there, but I only had so much time. So I was pushing a lot of stuff around with my feet. You see what we're finding? Sand dollars, couple shells here and there. But I did have the place to myself, which was kind of cool. So there's I feel like I'm here all by myself. It was wonderful. And I, for whatever reason, just right now, I prefer to kind of shell the southern end of islands. So let's take a look. There's a bunch of different tours you can take. So here's Costa. And I'm on the southern end and that's one of the reasons I took this particular tour is because I wanted to see the southern end of the island. There are a bunch of other tours you can do, which essentially bring you to the northern end of the island, which is fine. And one of those days, eventually, I will get around and I will take one of those tours. But I really wanted to see the southern end of the island. So that was why I chose this tour, even though it was a little bit short. If you're looking for a short tour versus something really long, this would be a good tour to go on. So I've been doing a lot of talking. I think it's time for some beach time. All right, I am still working my way through the water. Nice sand dollar. Definitely going to keep that one. That's the kind of condition I like to see them in. Looks like okay. Calico scallop, a little beat up. It's purple, got a barnacle. Kind of cool. Oh, just a piece. All right, lightning whelk. Another sand dollar. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep that one. Okay. Oh, that one's actually really pretty. That is a calico scallop. Real pretty color. And another that is also a calico scallop. A lettered olive. So I'm not really finding a variety of things. It kind of looks like I'm finding sand dollars, olives, a couple of those Florida fighting conchs, although that sand dollar is actually really nice. And that one. So let's talk. What happens? Is there a better time of the year to go shelling? Yes, as a matter of fact, there is. So right now we're in the summer and here's Florida. Now this is from the Sanibel Shell Museum. They have an exhibit. And this is from that exhibit. So there's Florida, and there are billions of living shells offshore along Florida's 80-mile-wide continental shelf extending for 1,000 miles from Alabama to the lower Florida Keys. A small fraction of them reach our shores, particularly after storms. And so it's always great to get out there after a storm for sure. So that's what's kind of going on typically. Now, right now in the summer, with the way that the winds are, take a look at the picture. You see the way that the little arrow is pushing those shells back out. So in times of southerly breezes, especially in the summer and fall, gentle surface currents pile up against the island, and the extra water retreats in the form of a bottom current, taking the shells and sand back out to sea. So in the summer, it is a little tougher to find the shells. They're out there. I encourage you to dig, snorkel. They're there, but they're much harder to find. Now here, look at the winter picture. Now look at the shells on the very bottom. You see how they're coming up and onto the beach? Well, in winter, when the cold winter winds from the north or northwest blow across the land, they push the surface waters away from the land, and then the bottom currents now bring the sand and shells onto the beach. So there really is a better time to look for shells. I've always heard winter was, summer is a little slow, and I can absolutely tell you they're still there, but it is not as plentiful as it is in winter. So in winter, it's just a little bit easier to find shells, and now we know why. So thank you very much, Sanibel Shell Museum, for their informative display, and now we know why it's a little bit harder to find shells in the summer. Oh, another piece of lightning welk. I was hoping, I don't know if you caught my video where I found the giant horse conch, and I was just from a little piece. Nope, don't need that concrete, so yeah, we'll just put that to the side. That is not what I was looking for. All right, it's sand dollar. Now notice also how I pick it up. I don't try to pick it up by the edge. I kind of push the sand underneath it and push the sand dollar up because I don't want to break it. So that's a good little technique if you're afraid of breaking your sand dollar. Here's another Florida fighting conch. Needs a little beat up. We'll leave that for somebody else. Let's check this one out. Another little beat up Florida fighting conch. Oh well. Still nice to be on an island by yourself looking for seashells. So I did manage to find a little bit of a shell pile, and you have your common stuff. Look at this. We have the lady-in-waiting Venus clam. And you have your arcs, your cross-barred Venus, your surf clams, broad-ribbed carditas. Definitely shells here, just not exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for something a little more exciting. So for me, again, it was a little tough that I only had about 2 hours, but all in all, you know, I still got to go out and explore exactly where I wanted to go. Now that is a buttercup lucine. I got to go by myself on an island, so I seriously cannot complain. I did manage to find a couple of goodies, but it wasn't the shell piles I was really kind of hoping for. And as we know, summer's a little bit slower for shelling, and the weather just hasn't really kicked up anything lately. So we are just left with some shells. Here we have a prickly cockle. I love those little prickly edges on them, so admire that shell. So the island is really pretty. I'd like to at least think, it does remind me of Lover's Key, some of those dead trees. And that's what happens when the seawater makes its way up to those trees and the trees can't tolerate it, so they die, and then they just hang out there. So that's where those dead trees come from. Make a lovely backdrop. So headed back to the boat, back to the other people. If I had to say, I didn't make it all that far because I was creeping along so slowly in the water. I don't know, maybe a mile or so. And that is a juvenile Florida fighting conch with some beach stuff and a drill hole. So somebody drilled a hole in that critter. So that's Coya Costa. It's too bad it's not sunny out. It's 11:12. My tour is winding down. Pretty island though. Okay, might as well grab this lightning walk while I'm here. And this lettered olive, it just was so big and fat and then had very distinct M's on it. I thought that was kind of neat. It's a little beat up, but today was a little slow. So I'm finding certain things a little more interesting than I normally would. Here's a bay scallop. It's relatively intact. I mean, that's almost perfect. So we'll hold on to that. Ooh, and a broad paper cockle. I do not find those often. It always seems when I kind of travel a little bit out of my regular area, I'll see those. And look at the color. That's a pear whelk. And I figured because of the color, it was going to be alive. Yeah, that's a critter. Not a keeper, fantastic shell. I'll just tuck him back in, leave him do what he was doing. So that was it. It was a nice tour. It was quick for me. I do typically like spending a little bit longer out there, but I certainly wouldn't discourage you from going, especially if you only had a little bit of time. It leaves out of Captiva, and every cruise seems to have dolphins. I never go on a boat and not see dolphins. And that is actually kind of interesting. That is a home that Jay and Ding Darling built for his wife as an anniversary gift, and she didn't like it. So if you want to find out more about this, go on the tour. They're going to tell you all about it. Actually, all the tours give you great information about the area, weather, different things. I highly recommend it. And so this is what we ended up with. We got ourselves a couple of clams, a couple of bivalves, the Sunray Venus, Lucine, those bay scallops, calico clams, a couple of those lettered olives, a couple of those Florida fighting conchs, and the sand dollars. So if you've stuck around, we are going to break open that sand dollar and take a look inside. People have asked me before, and it is time. So if you don't want to watch me break the sand dollar, look away. But right in there, see those 5 pieces? Those are known as Aristotle's lantern, because Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, actually had a lantern that was made out of horns. It was a 5-sided lantern made of thin pieces of horn. So he decided to call those pieces there. So that is an urchin. The sand dollar is a member of the urchin family, and you can see there very clearly those 5 pieces of its mouth. So that is known as Aristotle's lantern, and urchins and sand dollars both have that same teeth-like calcium plates of the skeleton, and that's what makes up Aristotle's lantern. Now I tried to score the sand dollar so it would break perfectly in half, but the sand dollar had different ideas. So there's a lot of sand in there, and then those little pieces, look at them, the little doves. So there is a little legend of the sand dollar, and it goes something like this. Now break the center open, and here you will release the 5 white doves awaiting to spread goodwill and peace. Now I thought that's kind of lovely. So if you didn't know, someone had actually alerted this to me, that there's a little story about the sand dollar and even the little doves inside. And if they don't look like, they really do look like little birds. So that's what happens if you break open a sand dollar. And so it was nice to have one that was a little beat up, and I didn't mind breaking open. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for supporting me. A special shout out to my Patreons. You all are awesome. So I hope you learned a little bit about the tides, about a short shelling trip. Next week, we're doing some sunset shelling at low tide, and it's going to be awesome. So you have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday.